Hey guys, how's it going? So I put up a short of a noise that this Harley Davidson is making. So I'll just give you a little backstory on this thing. So my dad bought this bike last Saturday, and my brother test rode it. It rode out fine. I was actually there. He brought it back from the test drive. A negotiated price. He bought the bike. Bike was running fine, no weird noises, nothing like that. So then Sunday morning, it was on a trailer at my house. I unloaded off the trailer, started it up, let it warm up for about 5-10 minutes, and then rode it over to my dad's house, which is like 10 miles away. So I got to about 50 yards from their house, and it's almost like somebody flipped a switch and this thing started making a noise. And I'll put that video in here because we're not going to run it again because something's wrong and we're trying to figure out what's going on with it. So it was like a fluttering, knocking, piston slap. It's a weird noise. I've never heard this noise before. I have a few ideas on what it could be. The previous owner states that they did have the cam chain tensioners replaced, and he did show us a receipt for the parts, but no receipt for labor and stuff like that. So there's a possibility that the cam chain tensioners have not been done, and that's kind of what I'm leaning towards. The other thing that I kind of thought it could be was maybe one of these, if it has had it done and the adjustable push rods weren't tightened down right, it could be an adjustable push rod problem. And then the last thing, which I don't think it's this, is compensator will make a noise like that as well. So let me just switch this around and show you what we got. So far, to get to the cam cover, and that's old oil, so don't look at that. That's just an oil pan. So to get to this cam cover, you got to take the floorboard off and you have to remove the exhaust. You might be able to get the front header pipe off without taking it off the rear, but this was giving me problems. I couldn't rotate it enough to get it out, so I just took the whole thing off. So the next thing we're going to do is drain the oil, and then we're going to pull this cam cover off, and I'll bring you guys back when we do that and show you what we got. Okay, so we've got the Screaming Eagle hydraulic cam tensioner set up in here. Obviously, without taking this apart, I'm not going to be able to see the backside, but this is what we were told was in here, and so just pulling this apart and seeing that this is actually what's in here, I don't think this is the issue. So next thing I'm going to do is pull these covers on the push rods and check and see if those are loose. So I'm going to take all that apart and then we'll come back. Here's what went down. Let me flip the camera around and I'll show you. Okay, so I went ahead and popped those retainers off the push rod tube covers, or push rod covers, and pulled them up, and we had the original non-adjustable push rods in. So I knew I didn't have an issue with push rod coming loose, but that left the only thing on the valve train that could be an issue. Well, let me back that up. So we pulled that, and the push rods were there. I rotated the engine over with the back wheel, and got to top dead center on each cylinder where you could spin the push rod, so they weren't too tight. We did pull the rocker box covers off and look at those to look and make sure that we didn't have like a broken rocker arm shaft or rocker arm or something like that. So after a whole lot of reading and thinking on this whole thing, the other thing I noticed when we drained the oil is the oil was really, really black, and the drain plug had a lot of gunk built up on it. So to me, the oil was way dirtier than it should have been, in my opinion. And then after looking over some common issues with Harley Davidsons, the other thing we did do is we did pull the inspection cover off the primary chain. The primary chain tensioner looks good. I did not pull the primary cover off simply because I did a little bit more reading on the compensator problems with these, and it was not doing some of the other things that a compensator does, like the loud ping noise when you're trying to start it, and the noise that the compensator makes when you shut the motorcycle off. So it wasn't making that noise either. And the fact that from what I was reading, and I'm very mechanically inclined. I've worked on cars my whole life. I've not been a Harley guy for, a very long time. Like, I've just bought one last summer, and I'm kind of learning. I do have this 88 cubic inch and all that, but so I'm kind of learning as I go. But it wasn't pointing towards compensator to me. And also, my dad did tell me that he started the bike in between Sunday and Wednesday to see if the noise changed when the bike was cold. Now, he said that it was still there, but it wasn't nearly as loud as it was when the bike was hot. So I started thinking about that, and I thought, okay, we got nasty old oil. The other key to this bike is the miles. We don't know truly how many miles are on this bike. The odometer has been changed. The original owner gave us the original odometer. We plugged it in. It's right at 40,000 miles on the original odometer. The odometer that was put in, he did state that it wasn't a 0-mile new odometer when he put it in. He said that the mileage was written on the back. Well, when we turn that over to look at the mileage, there's no mileage written on there. There's just a date. So the new odometer says something around 17,000 miles. So let's say this odometer was put in with 10 miles on it. So we're looking at almost a 60,000 mile motorcycle. If we, so at the worst case, we got 60,000 miles on this bike. At best case, we got 40,000 and some change on it, if the odometer was put in and the bike was just parked. So knowing those factors, bike with possibly a high mileage bike, at least it's kind of high mileage for a Harley, really, really nasty oil. So maybe this bike hasn't been maintained like it should with as far as oil changes go. My theory led to a lifter failure. So most of the time when you have a lifter failure, it will clatter really bad when you start it up until it builds pressure. But my theory is when the bike gets hot and these parts start to expand, that one of these lifters has probably lost its ability to hold pressure once it's warm. So that's what we're gonna do. We're replacing the lifters. I'm trying to find a place to set you guys because I want to show you the lifters. We're replacing the lifters and putting adjustable push rods in. For one, if it hasn't, these lifters are definitely original. So here's the original lifter, and you can see, you can't really see because it's not focusing. I'll flip the camera around. So there is some wear on the lifter. This isn't anything I wouldn't expect for the mileage. So that doesn't worry me. But the thing is you can't, there's, as far as the hydraulic portion of the lifter holding pressure when it gets hot, you can't really check that. But with kind of doing some research on Harley Davidsons and kind of what the popular opinion is, A lot of guys are saying, oh, you know, lifters should be replaced, yada, 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 at certain mileages, which I don't know if that's, you know, it seems like Harley guys expect a lot of parts to be replaced on a regular basis that somebody who's used to riding Kawasaki's and Hondas wouldn't. But regardless of that, we did order new lifters and new adjustable push rods. Those should be in soon, and once those get here, we put those in, and then of course, you know, put new fresh oil in it. I believe that this will fix our problem. So I'll put that up on another video because this one's kind of getting long anyway, but that's where I'm at with this project. There was a lot of interest off the short that I posted of the noise, so I thought I'd go ahead and make this video, and hopefully this will help somebody else out. And you know, hey, why don't we fight in the comments over whether I'm going to be right or wrong on this thing. If you think there's something else I should be looking at, by all means, let me know. So far, the valve, everything on the valve train looks good. I was able to get the camera down in there and look at the cam surface where the lifter rides. That all looks fine to me. It looks like what I would expect out of, you know, an engine that's been run. And the receipt for the parts is for a dealership that is no longer open and hasn't been open for several years. So that tells me that this job, you know, I think people's, I'm giving the benefit of the doubt here to the guy who sold us the bike. You know, when he says, oh, it's just been done, I think that this cam was probably done and the bike really didn't get that many miles put on it, and it's to him it's just been done because it's, you know, hasn't been ridden a lot, or time gets away from people. So there's that. And part of me questions the whole, why would you put a new cam and oil pump and all this stuff in there and then throw these old lifters back in and the old push rods? And the answer to that is new lifters and push rods are $400 or $500, and new valve cover gasket, which you can replace and put all the old stuff back in, is like $15. So there's a cost savings to you reusing these old parts, but I'm of the, you know, the mindset of you're already in there, just replace it. So I'll let you guys know what happens.